referendum before the 2022 elections. Speaking at different forums, the leaders said the cost implications of such an exercise would be dire and would only serve to overburden the taxpayer. The leaders want the talk shelved.
Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta ako sahi New York, atakuja kesho. Sasa huyo hajatuambia maneno ya mabadiliko ya katiba. Yeye ndio kiongozi wa chama, akisema kwa kikao ya bunge ya wajumbe aseme kutakuwa na mabadiliko, tutajadiliana.
Mimi sahi tuache mambo ya kura ya maoni. Raia hao wako na shida mingi kuhusu VAT, kuhusu mashida ya wakulima. Let us concentrate on resolving the immediate problems of farmers and Kenyans at the expedience ya kuenda kufanya referendum kuundia watu wachache maofisi. Sina namna hiyo.
Referendum ni uchaguzi. Referendum ni kura. Mimi nauliza pesa ya kufanya referendum katika Kenya hii saa hii itatoka wapi? Tutarudi tufanye VAT kutoka 80% saa hii ya mafuta yote 26% ama 30% ndio tufanye referendum. Kwa sababu kuna watu wanaamini kila wakati unaenda kubadilisha kiongozi lazima wajipime, ile inaitwa gari ama kujipima nguvu. Wanaingia uwanja kwanza na referendum.
Two county governors, Nandi County Governor Stephen Sang has faulted what he calls the national government's reluctance to fully devolve agriculture. According to Governor Sang, counties are already doing the bulk of work associated with agriculture, but are seriously strained because of lack of funds.
Agriculture is almost 100% devolved. Actually, what is left in Nairobi is policy making. And I know when we were in the Senate, we agreed on and passed motions and, resolutions to this effect. But every other time a budget is made, a lot of resources are being retained in Nairobi. So we want to tell the national government that it is time that you let go the resources associated with agriculture, because that is a fully devolved function. Hiyo 4% national budget, bilioni zaidi ya 50, tunataka zikuje county ili tuweze kusaidia farmers hawa.
Deputy President William Ruto was at the coast launching various projects as his famed Tanga trips seem to be regaining steam. Whereas the DP sticks to his message that the trips are development focused and not for political campaigns, the political under and overtones are resounding with much talk about his 2022 presidential ambitions and support. In his most recent round of stops and public addresses, various leaders, many from Raila Odinga's ODM party, promised to rally their supporters behind him. The new round of project launching trips come after days of not being as active on the ground, coincidentally, at the same time with the debate on the introduction of higher taxes.
Tuungane, tufanye kazi pamoja ili tuweze kubadilisha maisha ya wananchi wa Kenya.
Hawa wananchi unaweka mapenzi, imani yangu kama tulivyochaguliwa mara ya pili, hawa wananchi watatukumbuka 2022 na kura tutaingia Ikulu tukiwa pamoja.
Tutakuwa kitu kimoja, tutaenda safari moja ili pwani hii miaka hii ijayo na mabadiliko.
Na tukiwaambia hapa kuna shimo tusiingie. Na tukiwaambia hapa turuke twendeni.
Peace has been restored in areas that were hit by skirmishes in Olengape and Olposimoru areas in Narok North following the clashes which erupted at the Nakuru-Narok border for the past 1 week. Businesses have resumed operation even as tension remains high under heavy police presence. About 20 people were injured and 9 arrested. The clashes involving two communities are reported to have started from theft of cattle. A dusk till dawn curfew is still in place, with few displaced families still living in camps. Leaders from the region are expected to meet in the coming week. Meanwhile, Mikindani residents have decried air pollution from a clinker factory in the area, saying that the dust causes severe skin irritation. They claim that 2 children have been adversely affected by the dust released from the factory and are calling on the health officers in the region to take action. Johanna Kalu, who is a village elder, says people's homes have also been covered with dust, causing various respiratory complications. Residents want the cement factory closed indefinitely.
Shida moja ambayo imetutabiri hapa, shida ambayo imetukabili kwamba kumekuja Wahindi hapa ambao wanafanya biashara ya kilinga. Kilinga hiki kinawakisha wao watu wengi sana. Mimi mwenyewe ambaye nazungumza hapa, kuna mtoto wangu wawili wamekusha fariki kwa ajili ya hii kilinga. Hii ugonjwa huu umeletwa na njia ya kukohoa. Unakohoa halafu unakohoa damu na baadaye mwili unaanza kuwa unabonjeka mwili, huwezi kupumua vizuri kwa sababu usiku hii kazi inafanywa saa 4 za usiku, wanafanya mpaka saa 11 wanafunga kazi. Asubuhi utakuwa kama hizo nyumba zote zimekuwa nyeusi kabisa mpaka juu. Hata ndani ya chakula kikishapikwa asubuhi huwezi kukitafuna kwa sababu ni michanga mtupu ya sementi.
Hundreds of residents in Jomvu took to the streets to demonstrate against land grabbing in the area. Residents claim that cases of rampant land acquisition through illegal means have increased in the area, blaming high levels of impunity by corrupt and powerful individuals. They allege that there is a cartel operating in the area, stealing public land, subdividing it and selling it to unsuspecting Kenyans. They want the National Lands Commission to intervene and reclaim stolen land, especially those meant to be for public amenities. Back to politics. A section of politicians from the pastoral areas have maintained that they will support Deputy President William Ruto's 2022 presidential bid, led by Pokot South Member Parliament David Posing. The leaders say the marginalized areas have developed under the Jubilee administration.
Saidia shule pale Sabei. Mheshimiwa Ruto pia alikuja kuanzisha shule hapa Katikomor. Some 3 months ago alikuja kuanzisha shule hapa Katikomor. Ameenda kuanzisha shule kule Sigor College, Teachers College hapa Sigor. Kwa hivyo rafiki mmoja tu ya wafukaji ni Mheshimiwa William Samoei Arap Ruto. Sisi hatuna maneno.
Mara ya kwanza sisi West Pokot tukipata malami baada ya 50 years na vile inaelekea 50 years sasa. Tangu tupata huru na hawa wameleta nani na kutoka makutano mpaka kunao alale kutoka ile safari kwa labda juu mpaka nashika marafiki na Peter.
Now to the continent, at least 45 people have been killed by cholera in Zimbabwe in the past 3 weeks, with the World Health Organization describing the strain as the multi-drug resistant. Elsewhere, Togo's opposition leader, that is Togo Habia Ayao, has entered his 10th day of his hunger strike.
The World Health Organization says the death toll from cholera in Zimbabwe has now risen to 45. The disease broke out earlier this month in Harare's western suburbs. A cumulative total of 6,428 suspected cases and 96 confirmed cases have been reported in the past 3 weeks. Almost all of the deaths have been in Harare, with one other in the eastern district of Makoni and another in the central city of Masvingo. WHO says that an oral vaccine campaign was due to begin shortly, with 450,000 people targeted in the worst affected suburbs of the capital, Harare. Scores of Zambian anti-corruption activists staged a protest outside Parliament as the country's finance minister presented the 2019 national budget statement. Carrying placards, the protesters marched from the Mulungishi International Conference Center to Parliament, where they were denied access to Parliament grounds. They were raising concerns on debt, taxation, corruption, and mismanagement of public resources. The leader of the largest opposition party in Togo, Habia Ayao, has entered day 10 of his hunger strike. Habia has been lying on a mat in front of the Ghanaian High Commission in Togo as he embarks on an indefinite hunger strike over the current political turmoil in that country. He is demanding the release of the protesters. He also wants the government to comply with an ECOWAS-approved roadmap and implement the reforms, which including capping the number of presidential terms. Nigeria's Air Force said on Friday that one of its pilots was killed in a plane crash during a rehearsal for the nation's Independence Day anniversary. Witnesses say the two jets were flying at a low altitude when one crashed into a hill at Katambe on the outskirts of the capital.
Well, spare thought for people in Indonesia because at least 300 people, and some sources have it at 400 people, have been killed after a 7.5 earthquake struck Indonesia's Sulawesi island, triggering an, of course, tsunami that was 2 meters high. Indonesia's authorities have confirmed that many bodies were found on Saturday, that is early today, along the shoreline of the Indonesian city of Palu.
Strong aftershocks continued to rock the coastal city of Palu on Saturday morning after waves up to 3 meters high swept through the scenic tourist town, triggered by a 7.5 magnitude earthquake on land. More than 24 hours after an earthquake triggered a tsunami off the Indonesian coast that has caused death and destruction, authorities having difficulties coordinating rescue efforts. The strong quake caused a power outage that cut communication around Palu and the nearby fishing town of Donggala. Indonesia's disaster mitigation agency on Saturday said many bodies had been found along the shoreline of Palu, adding the death toll was expected to rise. Indonesia sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire and is regularly hit by earthquakes. In August, a series of major quakes killed over 500 people in the tourist island of Lombok and destroyed dozens of villages along its northern coast.
Spare thought for the people in Indonesia who have been affected by this earthquake and tsunami. Back home, education stakeholders say budget cuts on curriculum development could affect the transition. Our reporter Gabriel Kudaka accompanied some Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development assessors who visited some selected schools that are piloting the project in the North Rift region and brings us the details.
Lambs Primary School in Eldoret is one of the 10 schools in Uasin Gishu County selected to pilot the second phase of competence-based curriculum project.
We have our classroom.
Unlike in other schools where pupils sit facing the board, here learners sit in groups facing each other and no student is allowed to answer a question alone. The group members must discuss the question first, agree on the answer before all of them raise their hands. A norm that experts argue promotes teamwork and encourages love among the learners.
We are encouraging citizenship because they're able to interact with pupils or children from other tribes, and they can live in unity or in harmony.
Proponents of this system argue that it is easy and more efficient for learners to comprehend since learning is real-time and practical. Before the lesson ends, some pupils are sent to a kiosk to buy margarine and are expected to bring back the right balance. This exercise helps them to enhance their understanding of addition and subtraction.
A lot of teachers are aware of the expected techniques, the new ways of relating with the children, and the competencies that they are doing. So overall, from Uasin Gishu County and Elgeyo Marakwet, I would say that all the teachers are meeting expectations, and the few who are not quite there yet are approaching the expectation, which makes me quite pleased as a researcher in this process.
This system of learning gives prominence to psychomotor activities, which helps in the physical and mental development of the learners. The KICD officers on the ground say that most teachers and parents have embraced the program.
We have 470 schools which are on pilot. We have 10 schools in every county. And basically teachers are very positive about the new curriculum.
The teachers who have embraced this curriculum say that it is paying off.
At the end of the day, you're able to say whether your child is able to communicate and collaborate. You're able to tell whether your child is getting skills as far as digital literacy is concerned. You're able to see self-efficacy in a child. You're able to see that a child is learning to learn.
But amidst these glowing tributes, some stakeholders have reservations.
But when the government now reduces the budget by 100 million, there will be a problem in implementation by KICD. So we are actually asking the government that they need to increase the funding to KICD so that there will be a rollover, or they will roll this program of competent-based training.
Gabriel Kudaka, NTV.
45 years ago, Samuel Wambogo had a bitter disagreement with his father when he married a second wife and gave her a part of the family's wealth. He left home and has been away until now. On the 18th of this month, 73-year-old Wambogo made an emotional and a surprise appearance at his home in Othaya with nothing but his ID card. NTV's Melito Letenges tells us more about a man who the family thought was dead and whose life away from home was full of misery.
Amidst the cheers, Samuel Wambogo is lost in thoughts, his eyes teary as he takes in the changes that have taken place in his home since he packed up and left 45 years ago. He affords an occasional smile when we have a sit down with him. When he left, he was only 29 years old.
Ilienda pande wa Ligio Marakwet. Na Ligio Marakwet ilikaa muda mrefu.
He says he left home as he couldn't bear the idea of seeing his mother suffer after his father married a second wife and gave her part of the family's wealth.
Mama mwenyewe alipatia chaba dogo. Hiyo ni kitu moja kiliumiza mimi roho, na mimi mwenyewe kasirika kwa roho. Ngaona hii ni ukoloni mambo leo.
His decision to come back home, however, was as difficult as his stay in the hospital in Elgeyo Marakwet. He has difficulties in passing urine and has to use a catheter. He arrived at his late uncle's home on Tuesday last week after spending the night at the Othaya police station on Monday night.
Kuona nimeshagaa, akanitolea kitambulisho chake, nikaona majina yake.
Kiwa kijana mdogo nilikuwa nasikia kuna kijana mmoja alikuwa amepotea huko upande wa Chiga, na wakati alikuwa amepotea ni nguo zake tu zilionekana. Sasa watu wa area hii walishangaa walipomuona na wakakubali kweli huyu ni mtu wao.
Back at his father's home, his nephew, who never saw him while he was growing up, started on plans to have his uncle resettled. Samuel's father had died in the year 1979, 5 years later. His mother died in 1989. Samuel's only brother died years later too. He never had the news of their passing on.
Atajengewa nyumba. Atakuwa kikaa huku mpaka maisha yake yote, mpaka Mungu ashukue. Ripoti ilikuja hapa nyumbani, magazema mimi ilikuru nishimba. Hiyo ni kitu ya kwanza. Ndugu yangu akaleta mwingine, ile ripoti ilipata, magazema ni mimi, na kubeti mimi.
Though he's frail and ailing, he works in his father's farm to make ends meet. The thought of coming back home for the past 45 years for Samuel Wambogo was a painful one due to the disturbing memories he left at home. But now he is back with a conscience-stricken decision, yearning to start afresh and build a life for himself. Milita Oletenges, NTV, in Getondo, Othaya, Nyeri County.
house of business. But which business, you may ask? From this kind of business to this. Yes, music. Music to soothe you, make you believe again in their caring, philanthropic nature. Then there is another kind of business, perhaps the most important of them all.
I could hear people in the toilet, inside the toilet, telling each other, how much have you been given and who has given you? So I could hear the transaction from people inside the toilet talking about how they've been given money by one honorable called Honorable Fatuma Gedi.
Toilet business, or we could just call it shady. Or is it shitty business?
I stood there waiting to see who is going to come out of that toilet. And when they realized there's somebody, because my phone rang and I answered my phone, I'm sure they must have captured my voice. They never came out of that toilet until the bell rang to go to the chambers.
Hold on, Wambushoba.
Do you want to tell me that two women or three women were inside one toilet? Please speak the truth.
That is my story. And I said I'm speaking the truth, and that is the truth.
And they fitted in a single cubicle? Where money is concerned, the impossible happens indeed, right?
If what you heard is voices of 2 or 3 people inside one cube or the toilet, why didn't you also join them then?
That is to my imagination.
Very well.
And you thought toilets were meant for just one kind of business. Wrong. Our adventurous members of Parliament have found a new and more profitable use for toilets. It's not just a place for deposits. Apparently, you can also withdraw when you visit the toilets at Parliament buildings. At the Kisumu County Assembly, they are also speaking. Never mind that their language, the speaker must go language, has now reached Kisumu.
And the law is very clear.
That clarity they all speak about remains rare and in short supply. The result?
That is it, she's there.
Drama. Call her the Lone Ranger, but she ensures she's heard. Somebody dared include her name on the list of those lined up to replace the Nairobi Speaker, Beatrice Elashi. Can't go, won't go, seemed to be what she had decided. This was real. Mama, what was the matter?
They go ahead and with mar and spite putting my name there. So I had to kind of storm the meeting and tell them that they cannot misuse my name.
Well, this too was real. Then she was called to account.
Nani aliingia na funjo kwake? Hii ni mlango, mimi nimeingia hivi, hata nitawaonyesha hii ni mlango. Mimi nimekuja nimeingia hivi, kuingia hivi nimepigwa. Sasa funjo hapo nani ameanza?
Really?
Si mimi nilikuwa naona ndimu. Mimi hakuna kitu niliona. Maybe kama wale wengine waliingia waka misbehave, hiyo ni mbaya. Hata mimi siwezi taka kitu kama hiyo.
You were there too. What did you see?
There was no scuffle. There was no fight.
Mimi kwanza sijui hiyo. By the way kwanza nimeokoka.
But madam, it's you here raising all the hell.
Mimi nasikia vibaya sana. Hapana.
Oh, she is good. Really good. Somebody give this lady an Oscar.
Mimi kutoka hiyo siku macho yangu mimi ni mgonjwa.
And you think you know your MCAs? Just call her, member of the Comedy Assembly. And what is happening at Gor Mahia?
One of us ndio anaenda kuambia watu ya kwamba Omuoch, yani imelipuka kwetu.
Chairman, things Omuoch.
The Gor Mahia stage has witnessed a theater of tragicomedy as well as of the absurd. A theater where miserably impecunious self-seekers, some of no fixed abode, are playing the role of philanthropic benefactors.
In plain English, please.
And failed pseudo-politicians are trying their hands at the maiden trade unionism drama, where hired layabouts have taken to the social media to echo their desperate masters' voices in the most virulent terms, and to vomit varying doses of imbibed, albeit undigested vitriol at the behest of their cowardly demagogues.
Rachieriawa, PLO, Mekwe.
Jina naitwa Sheikh Makbul Yusuf Karim Jerry Odhiambo.
And it is a habit from Nairobi to Migori.
They have decided to be playing abracadabra. They are playing what we call fox kittenish character with the lives of our peoples.
From English to mathematics, 50 plus 1 is 51, right? Wrong. Just ask a Kenyan cop.
Kadile tuko naye hapa ni kama 50 police officers, including me. It is about 70.
Now you know why this 50 plus 1 thing is always controversial. In conclusion,
this regime is composed of nauseous, naffing, and nugatory individuals who should never be given room to do administration.
Emmanuel Juma, Bullseye, NTV.
My takeaway is definitely that MCA who is now known as a criminal and firi and a statement of, by the way, nimeokoka. Wakenya mtatumaliza. That's that for 1 o'clock news update. I'll be back at 9 o'clock, but there'll also be a 7 o'clock news update, of course, in Swahili with Cartoon. And up next in about 30 minutes, that is Brian O'Twell and Sean Carter-Villis will be getting on top of the rest. What I mean is top sport. And of course, you'll have a lot of entertainment to look forward to and information on the world of sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mark Masai.